Parak HaMakabel Sodem Chavero, Daf Kuv Zayin, sponsored the Refuah Shalema for Yosef David ben Rezel. We begin with the Mishnah. The Mishnah brings a Machlokes Tanakama and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel whether a tenant farmer can deviate from his contract. Tanakama holds he can plant barley when they agreed to wheat, as long as the landowner has no preference for wheat. Barley depletes the land less than wheat. However, he cannot plant wheat if they agreed to barley. Similarly, he can deviate from legumes to grain, but not from grain to legumes. Ram Gamliel prohibits any deviation. The Gemara explains, our Mishnah refers to Eretz Yisrael that is generally mountainous, whereas a brisa that permits deviating from grain to even legumes refers to Bavel. Its lowlands are replenished by marshes. The Gemara explains Rav Shimon Gamliel based his opinion on a verse in Sfanya that prohibits any form of deception. The Gemara finds Rav Shimon Gamliel's opinion concerning Matanos Levyonim contrary to our Mishnah. Rabbi Meir holds Matanos Levyonim must be used by the poor for Purim expenses unless the ani stipulated otherwise in the presence of Anshe Ha'ir, the Gaboyim of the city. Rav Shimon Gamliel holds if the poor person has enough for Purim, he can use the money for some other purpose without the permission of the Anshe Ha'ir. The Gemara answers, a giver gets the mitzvah of helping a poor person regardless of its use. However, switching grains or the direction of planting each year without plowing twice, once after harvesting and once before planting, is detrimental to the land. The Gemara discusses the law regarding one who removes cress from a flax field. The Gemara states it is not theft as long as he takes cress from the middle of the field, not its borders. Its value is less than the damage it does to the flax. If the flax hardened to the point that seeds are ripe, then it is theft to take cress even from the middle of the field, since it can no longer harm the flax. The Gemara explains the law of two adjacent fields with trees growing on their border. Rav holds whichever side the roots penetrate is entitled to its fruits. If the roots penetrate both sides, they divide the fruit. If most of the fruits are in one field, they do not divide along the border, but perpendicularly. Shmuel holds the border is joint property. It is irrelevant where the roots extend. The Gemara reconciles Rabbi Yehuda's opinion with a brisa where one should purchase fields. Rabbi Yehuda based on Rav's statement, one should not look at his friend's field when its crop is standing. Claims land for agriculture should be purchased at a distance from the city. It is almost impossible for an onlooker not to be somewhat jealous. His ayin hara will cause the crop to diminish. However, Rav explained the verse from the Torah, Baruch atah b'sadeh, as meaning one's field should be close to the city in order to transport his produce easily. The Gemara explains the first teaching as referring to an exposed field, whereas the latter refers to one surrounded by a wall. Rav extended the effects of ayin hara from one's livelihood to the cause of most human deaths. The Gemara digresses to elaborate on different opinions to the cause of illness aside from ayin hara and the cure mentioned in the Torah, V'heisir Hashem imcha kol choli. Number one, Shmuel holds the susceptibility to different kinds of winds. Even people sentenced to death by execution could be cured if not for the winds. Hashem will mitigate the effects of the evil eye and winds. Number two, Rabbi Chanina holds exposure to cold weather. The verse explains that Hashem will control the intensity of the cold. Number three, Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina holds Hashem will get rid of all forms of excess mucus. Number four, Rabbi Elazar holds Hashem will prevent bile from spreading throughout the body. The Gemara now discusses the benefits of Pashachris, bread for breakfast. The poskim are undecided about replacing bread with hot or cold cereal. The Gemara claims it protects him from cold or hot winds, demons, makes him wise, and helps him win litigation. Helps him learn and teach, explain himself properly, remember his learning, not to sweat profusely, helps him focus on his wife, destroys intestinal worms, and helps his overall disposition. Rabbi Yehuda mentions laws pertaining to surveyors. Surveyors must measure fields exactly. Saffron, an expensive plant, can be planted wherever there is excess space. Surveyors must measure exactly the 4 amos planting limit next to a river. Weakened walls affect all farmers in the region. However, canals extending into private fields where damage to their walls affect a limited amount of people do not have to be measured so carefully. Rabami publicized that trees along the riverbanks must be cleared the width of a bargeman's shoulders so that they can pull barges along the banks. One does not have to cut his area of trees even a Talmid Chacham along the riverbank, unless the other owners agreed to do the same. If you're enjoying Daf and 5, please subscribe.